All right, class, good morning. Happy Friday. We have a reading test today, and we're going to do something a little bit different for our reading test. First of all, your reading test should be on colored paper. I have white ones, so it looks a little bit easier to see under the camera. Second, why don't we start with getting our names on the top of the paper. This is the answer key. And today, we're only going to take the first test. So from number 11 down, you can cross those out. Oh, don't get too excited. The other half, we're going to attempt to write our first essay today for reading. And don't worry, I'm going to help you with that, and we'll take our time. And if you have to pause the video to write the essay down, you have to write it, pause the video. It's no big deal. The essay is found on the last page in your packet right here. Yours is stapled together. You can rip that off, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at that essay at the end. So let's take our test like we normally do. I'll read you the story, and then I'll read you the questions, and then we'll fill in the first 10. We'll skip the second portion of the test, and we'll write the essay. Here we go. Now, if you guys don't know, this is a raccoon here, and it looks like he's up in an apple tree, but that animal there is a raccoon. Raccoons have this mask across their face. It kind of looks like their eyes are darker than the rest of their fur. If you see them, it almost looks like they have a mask over their eyes. And then they're also easily detectable by their color of their fur with the striped tail there. I know what would taste really good right now, Raccoon said. A warm, yummy, baked apple. I love this story because right now, if you are into apples, all the apple orchards have picking right now. You can actually go to a farmer's apple, like maybe Apple Holler, and go and pick apples now. They've come ripe this time of the year. A warm, yummy, baked apple. Raccoon headed for the apple tree, but the apples on the ground were rotten and mushy. She spotted juicy apples hanging from the tree overhead. Sally, Raccoon's old bones ached whenever she tried to climb trees. Just then, Deer trotted past. "Deer, I am so glad to see you," said the raccoon. "I want to make a baked apple. Is there possible that you could reach up and pick one of those nice apples for me?" Now, deer stand a lot taller than raccoons, so this is a good request. A deer also can stand on their hind legs, and sometimes deer do that to pick apples. Deer love eating apples. But Deer was already nearly out of sight. "Sorry, Raccoon," he called over his shoulder. "I'm late." This is the deer. Would not help. I'm already kind of predicting this because we've been working on figuring out the theme or the lesson in these stories. Raccoon sighed, but just then Bear padded by. Now that's kind of like walk, but bears have such big feet, so they kind of padded by. Raccoon said, "Could you please reach up and pick one of those nice apples to me?" "I'd be glad to, Raccoon," Bear said, "but I need to save my energy because it's almost time for my long winter nap." What Bear is talking about here is hibernation. Bears hibernate all winter long, and so they have to save up all their energy, and they save up all of their food in the form of fat on their body, and then they can sleep all winter long. As Bear lumbered into the woods, Raccoon started up the tree, gripping the trunk painfully with her claws. She was creeping along a branch and was almost to an apple when her back paws slipped. Raccoon hung by her front paws until she finally managed to pull herself back up onto the branch. Ooh, close call. Can you visualize that? She's hanging on there, just barely hanging on, and she was able to pull herself back up. Turn the page to page 62 at the bottom. Whew! I better get 2 apples, Raccoon thought, because I'm not doing this again. Of course, holding 2 apples made it even harder to climb down. Raccoon fell the last few feet. She landed hard, but she wasn't hurt. Now Raccoon needed sticks and twigs to make a fire to bake the apples. She gathered the sticks she could see, but the pile was too small for a good fire. Just then, Rabbit tiptoed into the clearing and asked, "Why are you looking in the bushes, Raccoon?" So now we got a rabbit. First a deer, then a bear, now a rabbit. I hope the rabbit helps. "I want to build a fire so I can bake some apples," Raccoon explained. "Could you help me find some more sticks?" Her smile was full and friendly. "I can't, because I hurt my leg today," Rabbit said, holding up one front leg in a sorrowful way. Then he hopped off, using all 4 legs. What? It almost seems like that the rabbit lied. Next, Raccoon spotted Mouse in the bushes. "Mouse," Raccoon begged, "will you help me gather sticks to make a fire? I want to bake some apples." "Oh," Mouse whispered, "I am so small." that I couldn't even carry a twig. With that, Mouse scurried back into the bushes. Excuses, excuses. All these animals have excuses. They can't be very helpful. Oh, Mouse whispered, I'm so small I couldn't even carry a twig. Won't help. Then Bee buzzed by. Raccoon called, Bee, oh, never mind. You're too small to be of any help. Maybe not, Bee told her. My mom always told me you are only as small as your ideas. What do you need? Raccoon explained the situation. Bee smiled and said, I might be too small to gather twigs, but I have some very nice honey to sweeten your apples. Now, I never had honey on apples before. I've had caramel on apples. That's pretty good, and that's sweet, so maybe this is a great idea. So Bee is going to help. I'm just writing little notes to help me with my assignment. With renewed energy, Raccoon found enough twigs to make a small fire. Soon Raccoon and Bee were contentedly feasting on sweet, warm, baked apples. Deer, Bear, Rabbit, and Mouse watched hungrily from the bushes. They were too busy, too tired, or small to help eat the apples. But now Raccoon and I read that wrong. They were not too busy, too tired, too small to help eat the apples, but Raccoon and Bee didn't need any help. I got all sorts of ideas in my mind right now what kind of lessons these guys learned, right? They wanted to get the good food, but they didn't want to work for it. Oh, how many times has that happened at my house? Oh, Dad, will you help me bake some cookies? You bet. And then when we're done, can I eat some? Yes, 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 yes. Hey, kids, you want to help me make some unbelievable pickles? I like to make pickles. Oh, no. Dad, can we have pickles? No, you can't have pickles. You didn't help make them. I don't know if it's like that at your house. That was what I was thinking about as I read this story. Nobody wants to help, but everybody wants to eat. Okay, let's go ahead and check out our questions for today. What is the theme of the passage? Is the theme, the whole story is about everyone needs friends. Is it learn from your mistakes? Is it take a big idea to solve a problem? Or if you don't help, don't expect to eat? All right, that was pretty obvious, right? None of those animals help, so none of them got to eat. Now, you fill these boxes in completely, nice and neat. Okay? Let's look at number 2. Read the sentence from the passage. Deer, Bear, Rabbit, and Mouse watched hungrily from the bushes. Which word has the same root word as hungrily? Well, what's the root word? Well, the root word is hungry, right? Which one of these has hungrily? Hunched, hundred, hungriness, or hurriedly? Okay. Number 3. Which key detail supports the theme? Now, whatever your theme was up here, we picked that it was D. So now you need to have one of these that's going to point back to D. Raccoon and Bee shared the apple. Raccoon needed twigs to make a fire. Raccoon asked the other animals to help her. Raccoon fell on her way down from the tree. I don't think it's that one, and I don't think it's this one. I got a good idea that Raccoon asked for help. Read the sentence from the passage. Her smile was full of friendliness. What word has the same root word as friendliness? Well, we gotta get rid of that part at the end. And friend. Okay, which one of these has the same root word? End, fried, friendly, or happiness? That was pretty easy. Number 5. What evidence from the text best supports the theme? Remember what we said our theme was. They were too busy, tired. They were not too busy, tired, or small to help eat the apples, but Raccoon and Bee didn't need any help. With renewed energy, Raccoon found enough twigs to make a fire. Now it's out. Woo, I better get 2 apples, Raccoon thought, because I am not doing this again. Bear, Raccoon said, could you please reach up and pick one of these apples for me? You know, it can't be D. All right, number 6. Read this sentence from the passage. Is there a possibility that you could reach up and pick one of these nice apples for me? If possible means able to happen, what does possibility mean? Something that needs to happen, something that cannot happen, something that has happened, something that could happen. Number 7. Read this sentence from the passage. Soon Raccoon and Bee were contently feasting on sweet, warm, baked apples. What is a root word for contently? Is it tent, content, or contented? What's the root word? The word without any of the added endings. And don't say 10 or 10th. It's not those. Number 8. Read the following sentence from the passage. Soon Raccoon and Bee were contently feasting on sweet, warm, baked apples. Deer, Bear, Rabbit, and Mouse watched hungrily from the bushes. This text evidence supports the message of the passage by showing that Deer, Bear, Rabbit, and Mouse made a mistake. The baked apples are better with honey. Why the other animals are hungry, or how Bee helped Raccoon. Number 9. What text evidence best supports the theme? Raccoon called Bee. Oh, never mind. You're too small to be of any help. Mouse, Raccoon begged. Would you help me gather sticks to make a fire? Raccoon headed for the apple tree, but the apples on the ground were rotten and mushy. Bee smiled and said, I might be too small to gather twigs, but I have some very nice honey to sweeten your apples. Which one of those supports our theme? And number 10. Read this sentence from the passage. I can't because I hurt my leg today, Rabbit said, holding up a foot leg in a sorrowful way. If sorrow means sadness, what does sorrowful mean? Full of sadness? Near sadness? Without sadness? Or far from sadness? Okay, so your sheet should be, all the top 10 should be done. The bottom one you can put one X through. And you're done with this. This is going to go back into your folder. Keep out your test booklet because you may want to refer back to the pages for our text evidence. The last page on your test is your essay, so go ahead and turn to that. And you can rip that right off. Our essay says, explain the message that are presented in these passages. Of course, it's talking about both stories. We're just going to do passage, just the one story. Support your answer with clear text evidence. Now, the cool thing is we already established what the theme was. What this question really asks is, what's the theme of the story? Or, remember we said theme is what you learned. What did you learn from the story? And we said, I'm going back to number 1. It says, what is the theme? We said, if you don't help, you don't expect a reward. Now, when we write our essay, we always want to start with a topic sentence. Okay, and the topic sentence should include what we're talking about. So I'm going to start it off with this topic sentence. In the story, help, please, we learned that if, I think I'm going to word it just like they worded it, if you do not help, then you should not expect a reward. Now, that's our topic sentence. Remember, whenever we write a topic sentence, we got to have some details that point back up to it. A good essay will look like this. You start with a topic. You have some details with some text evidence. Details, text evidence, details, text evidence, and then a concluding sentence. So we're going to try to model it just like that. So I'm going to say topic, detailed, evidence. I'm going to say detailed 1 and evidence 1, detailed 2, evidence 2, detail 3, evidence 3, and then a conclusion sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences. Should be a piece of cake for us. So what are some details that said, hey, if you don't work, you don't eat? Now, I had done some notes on mine. Here we got bear, okay? And here we got deer. Here's the deer, and here's the bear, and they both had excuses as well as the raccoon and mouse. I'm sorry, the rabbit and the mouse. So I'm going to start with the deer, okay? Deer did not take time to help raccoon. Raccoon's got 2 C's in it and 2 O's in it. Raccoon. So that's my detail. I just knew that from the story, but now I got to prove it because I want the teacher to know that I read the story. So here is what Deer said. He said, "Sorry, raccoon," he called over his shoulder. "I'm late." And then you're going to say where you found that. On page 61, Deer says, and then put quotation marks, "Sorry, raccoon, I'm late." End quotation marks. So I got my detail. I said it in my own words, and then I use words right from the text. On page 61, Deer says, "Sorry, raccoon, I'm late." Now I could go on to bear, or I could go on to rabbit, or I could go on to mouse. You guys, if you don't want to do what I'm doing, you feel free to do your own. I'm going to jump on to bear. Raccoon sighed. Just then, Bear petted. Raccoon said, "Could you please reach and pick one of these nice apples for me?" "I like the raccoon," Bear said, "but I need to save my energy because it's almost time for my long winter nap." So that's going to be my text evidence, so I'm going to say it in my own words first. Bear refused to help and only thought of himself. Now this time, instead of saying on page, I'm going to say the story says, and now I'm putting in quotation marks because here's what the story says. Bear needed to save his energy for winter. Period. End quotation marks. I took that right out of the story. So there was my second detail in my own words, and then my text evidence that came right from the story. We're cruising right along now. We got 4 sentences done. We got 3 left. I'm going to come up with another detail. I think I'm going to use mouse. I know there was rabbit, and I didn't really care to write about rabbit because rabbit just straight up lied. Rabbit said, "My foot hurt, I can't help but," then hopped away on the foot. So let's go to mouse. Next, raccoon spotted mouse in the bushes. "Mouse, would you please help me gather sticks to make a fire? I want to bake some apples." "Oh," Mouse whispered, "I'm so small I couldn't even carry a twig." With that, Mouse scurried back into the bushes. Mouse, like the others, made excuses not to help. On page, and this is page 62, and I'm going to count the paragraphs. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6. On page 62, paragraph 6, comma, Mouse says, and now I'm going to go ahead and put it, "I'm so small that I couldn't," that's a contraction, couldn't even carry a twig.
Yep.
3 points, 3 key details, 3 text evidences, and now we want to have a conclusion. Explain the message that's presented in this past. The message was, if you don't work, you don't eat. So now I'm going to conclude it with all of the animals who did not help were sad at the end because they did not, and I was going to say eat, but get a baked apple. I'm going to proofread, make sure it sounds good. In the story, Help, Please, we learn that if you do not help, then you should not expect a reward. Deer did not take time to help Raccoon. On page 61, Deer says, "Sorry, Raccoon, I'm late." Bear refused to help and only thought of himself. The story says Bear needed to save his energy for winter. Mouse, like the others, made excuses not to help. On page 62, paragraph 6, Mouse says, "I am so small that I couldn't even carry a twig." All of the animals who did not help were sad at the end because they did not get a baked apple. Guys, you guys mastered your first essay. Remember to pause the video, rewind it if you need to clean it up. Now, these 2 things are the things that we need to correct for you. So put both of these back in the folder together. This one you can put underneath those and finish up your work for Friday and have a great weekend.